I froze in the doorway. The world stopped. My wife was in our bed, and she wasn't alone. The smell of perfume and sweat hit me first, sharp, heavy, unmistakable. Her hair was tangled, her cheeks flushed, and the blanket barely covered the truth I could never unsee. Beside her, a man I had never seen before turned his head and looked right at me. He didn't flinch. He didn't look ashamed. He just stared, calm and cold, like I was the intruder in my own home. "Aaron," Claire whispered, her voice trembling. It was barely audible, like saying my name would somehow undo what she'd just done. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. 6 years of marriage, 6 years of trust, 6 years of thinking I was building a life with someone who loved me. Shattered in a single, silent moment. I don't remember leaving the room. 1 second I was frozen in the doorway, the next I was in the driveway, gripping my car keys with white knuckles. The cold air burned my lungs as I stumbled into the driver's seat. My hands shook violently as I jammed the key into the ignition. I couldn't think. I couldn't feel. The only thing echoing in my mind was that image, Claire in our bed with someone else, burned into me like a scar I'd never escape. I drove without knowing where I was going. The city blurred past me in streaks of gray and red taillights. I must have run a stop sign or two, maybe more. I didn't care. At one point, I realized I was gripping the wheel so tightly my fingers hurt. I forced myself to loosen them, but the shaking wouldn't stop. My thoughts spiraled, wild and sharp. Was this the first time? How long has this been going on? Did she ever actually love me? Every memory of our marriage replayed in my head like a cruel movie. Every smile. Every kiss. Every night we fell asleep holding hands. They all felt fake now. I eventually ended up in the parking lot of an abandoned strip mall. The sun was already setting, painting the cracked asphalt in muted orange. I turned off the engine but didn't move. I just sat there, staring at nothing, as my entire body shook. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to break something, a window, my phone, my own heart, if I could just stop feeling it. But all that came out was a whisper. No. Like saying it out loud might make it untrue. Time slipped away. The world outside dimmed from gold to gray to black. Streetlights flickered on, one by one, and the empty parking lot became my whole universe. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Once. Then again. Then again. I didn't have to look. I already knew it was her. When I finally checked, my screen was full of missed calls and messages. "Claire, Aaron, please. I can explain. Claire, it's not what you think. Please talk to me. Claire, I love you. I'm sorry. Please come home. Love." That word felt like a joke now. If love meant betrayal in your own bed, I wanted no part of it. I didn't go home. Instead, I found the cheapest, most forgettable motel I could. The kind of place where the neon vacancy sign flickers and nobody asks questions. The room smelled like old cigarettes and cleaning chemicals. The carpet was stained, and the bed creaked when I sat down. I collapsed fully clothed, staring at the water-stained ceiling. That's when the first tear finally slipped out. Not a sob, not a breakdown, just one single tear, sliding down the side of my face. Because in that moment, the weight of it all hit me. The woman I loved more than anything in this world had killed the life I thought we had. And she'd done it without a second thought. I closed my eyes, hoping sleep would come. Instead, the memory replayed in brutal detail over and over like a scene from a horror movie. Her hair. Her flushed cheeks. The stranger's cold stare. And my own reflection in the mirror across the room. A man who had just lost everything, and didn't even know who he was anymore. The motel's thin curtains couldn't keep out the morning light. I woke to the faint buzz of traffic outside and the cold realization that the nightmare wasn't a nightmare at all. It was my life now. My shirt was still wrinkled from the night before. My mouth was dry, my neck stiff from sleeping on the hard mattress. I stared at the ceiling for a long time, letting the memories crawl back in like poison. Claire's voice. Her whisper, Aaron. That stranger's eyes locking with mine, calm and different, as if he wasn't destroying someone's world. I turned on my side, facing the peeling wallpaper. There was no escape. Even here, the ghost of my marriage followed me. My phone buzzed again on the nightstand. 13 missed calls. 9 messages. I didn't need to open them to know what they said. Apologies. Excuses. Empty promises from a woman who had turned my heart into glass and then dropped it. I picked up the phone anyway. Claire, Aaron, please. I can explain. Claire, I can't lose you. I love you. Claire, it wasn't what it looked like. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound that echoed in the empty motel room. Not what it looked like. I wondered if she actually believed that. By late morning, I forced myself into the shower. The water was lukewarm, and I just stood there, staring at the cracked tiles, letting it run over me. I thought about our life together. The way she used to text me little hearts in the middle of the day. The way she used to fall asleep on my chest during Sunday movies. The way she used to tell me, I feel safe with you. Now I wondered how many of those moments were already tainted by lies. By the afternoon, I was back in my car, parked a block away from the house. I stared at it from a distance. It looked the same, quiet, ordinary, even welcoming. If a stranger passed by, they'd never know that behind those walls, a marriage had died. My chest tightened as I gripped the steering wheel. I didn't want to go in. But I had to. I had to look her in the eye. I had to hear what lies she would tell me to my face. The key felt heavy in my hand as I unlocked the door. The smell of home hit me instantly, vanilla candles, fresh laundry, and a faint trace of her perfume. It used to mean comfort. Now it made me want to choke. She was there, sitting on the couch with her knees pulled up to her chest. Her hair was in a messy bun, her hoodie swallowed her small frame, and her eyes were red and swollen. When she saw me, she gasped. Her lips trembled, and she scrambled to her feet. Aaron, she whispered, like the word itself might fix everything. Her voice was raw, shaky, desperate. I didn't answer. I just stood there, staring at her like she was a stranger who had broken into my home. I didn't know if you'd come back, she stammered. Her fingers twisted the hem of her hoodie like a nervous child. I thought maybe you'd talk, I said. The word came out colder than I intended, but it felt right. Her breath hitched. I'm sorry, she whispered, taking a small step toward me. I never wanted to hurt you. I swear. I don't even know what I was thinking. Thinking? I cut her off. You were thinking plenty when you were in our bed with him. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Tears welled in her eyes. I was lonely, she said, voice breaking. You're always working, always tired, and I made a mistake. A horrible, stupid mistake. I laughed. It was short and bitter, and it felt like it didn't belong to me. Lonely, I repeated. I worked 10-hour days to give you this house, this life. I gave you everything I could, Claire. And you repay me by screwing some random guy in our bed? She started sobbing, hands covering her face. I know I don't deserve you. I wanted to feel wanted. I didn't think. Stop. The word was sharp enough to make her freeze. I stepped closer, and she instinctively stepped back. I could see the fear in her eyes now, not of me, but of losing what she'd thrown away. Who is he? I asked. My voice was calm, too calm. Who is the man I found in my house? She hesitated. It doesn't matter. He's nobody. I don't care about him, Aaron. He didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything? I snapped. You destroyed everything we built for nothing? She dropped to her knees then, sobbing, her hands clutching mine. Please, Aaron. I love you. I love you so much. I can fix this. I'll do anything. Please, don't leave me. I stared down at her. At the woman I'd loved, trusted, and built my life around. And I felt nothing. No pity. No warmth. Just a cold, hollow void where love used to live. I don't know who you are anymore, I said finally. I walked past her, into the bedroom. The air felt heavier here. I could still smell the ghost of that day, perfume, sweat, and betrayal. The sheets were clean now, but I still saw the wrinkle in the pillow where he had rested his head. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing clothes in. Shirts, jeans, socks, it didn't matter. I just needed to get out. When I zipped the bag, I saw her standing in the doorway, her face wet, her lips trembling. "Aaron," she whispered, almost inaudible. "I can't lose you." I met her eyes for the last time that day. "You already did," I said. And I walked out without looking back. I left the house without looking back. I don't even remember the drive. It was as if the world had lost all color, all sound, all life. I was moving through it, but I wasn't really there. By the time I pulled into the motel parking lot, the neon vacancy sign flickered like a heartbeat. I killed the engine and just sat there for a moment, gripping the wheel, breathing in shallow bursts. This was my life now. A stranger in my own story. The room hadn't changed since the first night. The same heavy smell of old smoke and cleaning chemicals. The same dim lamp in the corner that buzzed faintly, as if mocking my silence. The same cheap bedspread with a faded floral pattern that belonged in a house from the 80s. I dropped my duffel bag by the door and sat on the bed, staring at the stained carpet. That's when the weight of it all finally hit me. My chest tightened, and my breathing came in ragged bursts. Images of that moment, the doorway, the bed, the man's cold eyes, spun in my head like a broken film reel. I gripped my hair and let out a sound I didn't recognize. Half a sob, half a growl. I wasn't crying, not really. I was breaking. The first few days passed in a blur. I didn't leave the motel except to grab fast food or bottled water from the gas station down the street. I didn't answer calls. I didn't check messages. I let the world shrink down to that single, dimly lit room. Sometimes I'd sit on the edge of the bed, scrolling through old photos on my phone. Claire smiling at the beach. Claire blowing out birthday candles. Claire holding my hand in the car, her nails painted bright red. Every image felt like a lie now. A cruel joke the universe had played on me. I'd zoom in on her face, looking for signs I'd missed. Was she already cheating then? Was she thinking about someone else while she was kissing me? The questions had no answers, but they gnawed at me all the same. Nights were the worst. I'd lie in the dark, staring at the water-stained ceiling, and the silence would crush me. During the day, I could distract myself, watch cars drive past the motel, scroll through meaningless social media posts, stare at the wall. But at night, the ghosts came. I'd hear her laugh in my head. I'd see her body under those sheets, flushed and guilty. I'd hear my own voice, the one that never came out, screaming inside my head, why? Why wasn't I enough? On the third night, I woke up drenched in sweat from a nightmare. In the dream, I walked into the bedroom again. But this time, they didn't freeze. They didn't care. They just laughed. I woke up gasping, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. I sat there on the edge of the bed until sunrise, staring at the motel carpet, wondering if I was losing my mind. By the end of that first week, I forced myself to drive back into the city. I didn't go home, I couldn't, but I needed to see something. I parked near the park where Claire and I used to have summer picnics. Families walked by with strollers, kids laughed on the swings, dogs chased frisbees. It was like watching a life I used to have but could never touch again. I sat on a bench and stared at the empty space beside me, remembering the time she spilled iced tea on my jeans because she laughed so hard at one of my bad jokes. Back then, I thought we were untouchable. Now that memory just hurt. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost didn't look, but curiosity, or maybe self-destruction, got the better of me. Claire, Aaron, I can't stop thinking about you. Please come home. Claire, I'll do anything. Therapy, whatever you want. Just don't leave me. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. For a moment, I felt something like pity. Then the memory hit, that smell, that bed, that look in her eyes, and the pity turned to ice. I locked the phone and slid it back into my pocket. That night, I made a decision. I opened my laptop and typed into the search bar, how to file for divorce in my state. The page loaded slowly on the motel Wi-Fi. I scrolled through the steps. Fill out the petition. Serve your spouse. Wait for the court date. It all felt cold. Clinical. It was strange to think that something as big as a marriage, 6 years of love, promises, and memories, could end with just a few signatures and a stamp from a stranger in a courthouse. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark, letting the decision settle in my bones. This was it. There was no going back. And as much as it hurt, I felt the faintest flicker of strength. Because even if I was broken, I wasn't going to stay on my knees forever. The day I filed for divorce felt unreal. I sat in a small office across from a lawyer I'd never met before. He flipped through the paperwork with calm efficiency, like this was just another Tuesday for him, because it was. Married 6 years, no kids, simple assets, he said. This will be quick. Quick. That word cut through me like a blade. 6 years of love, 6 years of trust, 6 years of believing I had a home. And it all ended with a few signatures and the promise of quick. I walked out of the office with a folder in my hand and a hole in my chest. A week passed before Claire reached out again. Claire, please, just one last time. I need to see you. Please. I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to hear her voice. But a part of me, the part that still needed closure, wanted to look her in the eyes one final time and make sure I'd never go back. I typed one word. Me, okay. The house looked different now. Colder. Lonelier. I parked in the driveway and just sat there for a minute. The last time I was here, I'd left with a duffel bag and a heart full of broken glass. I opened the door slowly. The smell hit me instantly, the familiar blend of vanilla candles and her perfume. It didn't smell like home anymore. It smelled like a lie. She was in the living room, waiting. Claire looked small. Her hair was tied back messily, her hoodie hanging loose on her thin frame. Her eyes were red, her lips dry. She looked like she hadn't slept properly in weeks. When she saw me, she whispered my name like a prayer. Aaron. I didn't answer. I just watched her, standing in the doorway like a guest in what used to be my life. I don't know where to start, she said, her voice trembling. I've been thinking about everything. I hate myself. I hate what I did to us. She took a shaky step forward. Tears slipped down her cheeks, and she tried to reach for my hand. I stepped back. Don't, I said softly, but firmly. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the distant bark of a dog outside. And beneath it all, the sound of her quiet sobs. I love you, she whispered. I always loved you. I was just stupid. I was lonely. I felt like I was disappearing, and I wanted to feel wanted. But it meant nothing, Aaron. He meant nothing. Her words spilled out like water from a cracked glass. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you if you let me. Therapy, anything you want. Just, don't leave me like this. Please, don't leave me. I stared at her for a long moment. At the woman I had once loved so completely I would have walked through fire for her. And I realized something. I didn't love her anymore. I loved the memory of her. The version of her that existed before that doorway. The version that smiled at me in old photos, that fell asleep on my shoulder during late-night movies. That version of her was gone. And I couldn't bring her back. You know what the worst part is? I said quietly. She looked up, eyes wide and wet. It's not just that you slept with him, I continued. It's that you killed us. You killed the trust, the laughter, the safety. And you did it for nothing. She sobbed, her hands trembling, reaching toward me again. But I didn't move. I can't do this anymore, I said, voice steady. I can't live in a house full of ghosts. I can't love a stranger. And I can't spend the rest of my life wondering if it'll happen again. Her face crumpled. She fell to her knees, the hoodie sleeves dragging across the hardwood floor. Aaron, please. I already left, I said softly. Now I'm just making it official. I turned and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just left her there, in the house that used to be ours, with the ghosts of the life we'd lost. The drive back to my apartment felt different. For the first time in weeks, I rolled the window down and let the cold air fill my lungs. It didn't feel like freedom, not exactly. But it felt like the first breath after being underwater too long. That night, I didn't go to the motel. I went to my new apartment, empty, quiet, but mine. I sat on the floor with a takeout container, eating cold noodles straight from the box. And for the first time, the silence didn't crush me. In the weeks that followed, I started piecing myself back together. I went for long walks without my phone. I cooked small, simple meals. I watched movies alone and let myself laugh at dumb jokes. One evening, I went to the park where we used to sit together. I sat on our old bench, feeling the wind on my face, and I didn't cry this time. I just breathed. The pain was still there. It probably always will be. But it didn't own me anymore. Sometimes, late at night, the memory comes back. The doorway. The bed. Her whisper. But now, when it comes, I let it pass through me like smoke. Because that life is gone. And I'm still here. If you like this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.